Hello everyone and welcome back once again to Warmack9's Forum 9 for today, Thursday the 31st of January. And today I wanted to talk to you guys about MMOs and maybe get a little bit of your feedback at the end, like games, games. If you couldn't tell by my Tuesday video, I sat back and watched my video afterwards, and of course I had to watch it a few times when I was editing everything, and I was like, oh my god, I sound so over-the-top passionate about video games that I can just ramble on and on about everything that I just found so amazing and that this experience was amazing. And I could really delve into it, but I was trying to stay away from being overly specific because then I'll just talk all day. All day. So this episode was just kind of be me, again, introducing my gaming history. And in this case, it's going to be mostly revolving around MMORPGs, so things that I play in online settings, things with communities, things like that, as far as what was good, what was bad, what kind of stuff I've spent all my online time doing. Now, my first MMO I started back in 2001, and I played it till, like, late 2003-ish, I think. It was RuneScape. Now, RuneScape's been around forever. If you haven't heard about RuneScape, I don't know where you've been. They've been around forever and ever and ever. I used to play when the characters had little 2D character models and the world was 3D, but the world was still kind of like in terms of render quality, so it was not that good. But at the time, it was very entertaining, even though it was just, menial, repetitive tasks. And it's become a lot better in recent years, where they actually have better quests, more things to do, more different events and ways you can actually get your experience and be able to actually develop your character as a character. Whereas back when I did it, I did every single quest, I ground out everything, I enjoyed the crap out of it, and it was a lot of fun, but it was because I was playing with like 2 buddies. So I mean, that was really what kept me tied down there, was the fact that I was playing with friends. And one of my friends eventually got cable internet. I was still running on dial-up at the time, and he got a game. Well, he was playing Counter-Strike Source back then, but he got a game, MapleStory. He got into the closed beta for MapleStory, and I was like, well, that looks cool. It's kind of like a 2D platformer, but you get all these cool abilities, and you can use them on the fly, and of course, it's MMO. You can play with everybody at any given point in time. I was like, yeah, I wanted to try that, so I played MapleStory, and we both played MapleStory. I got into the closed beta, and I was playing MapleStory from 2003 to 2005, where I stopped in April. Yes, I stopped in April of 2005 because I picked up a different game, World of Warcraft. Now, World of Warcraft released back in November or December of 2004. I came in like shortly thereafter it had released, and let me tell you, WoW back then is so different from WoW today. And I mean, I played WoW from 2005 till early 2012, so I was relatively seasoned in terms of veteran. So early 5, early 12, that's like a 7-year vet. And most people are only able to claim 9-year vet at best right now, and I don't know many people that would claim that, because the people that join for the reasons of vanilla WoW versus reasons of Panda WoW are on like 2 completely different wavelengths. Back then, I really enjoyed World of Warcraft. I founded a guild with some guys on one of my first days playing. That's where the name Warmack came from. I was the first Warmack. I was the very first one on the Armory. I was a gnome warlock. When the Armory released, I was level 60. And I was the only Warmack on there for a very long time, until somebody else cropped up on my server who was Warmack without the K. It was just W-A-R-M-A-C. And it was a dwarf warrior. And I was very pissed off. I was very pissed off because I was like, you stole my name! And I'd occasionally run into him. But he didn't actually appear on the Armory until Burning Crusade. So it was kind of a thing of stolen identity later on down the line. And I guess I was popular enough that I started a trend. Like, not only was I originally the only Warmack, and I PvP'd before they took away PvP titles, so I can tell you that I'm the oldest Warmack because I'm one of the few that actually had a PvP title. I made it to Master Sergeant on the Alliance side. That was from me grinding out a month of PvP with my buddy Kafuna, who managed to get Grandmaster in that same time frame. He was already almost Grandmaster and we sat there, and it was me, him, and his sister, and one other guy. I can't remember his name. We were all cool. We were like hanging out in this little posse called Pop-Tart, dominating, absolutely dominating PGs. We would just go and wreck face through Alterac Valley. And back then I was playing Gnome Warlock, which Warlock is kind of where Warmack was like, oh, I can just use Warmack as my character's name because it's a Warlock. And Mac was nickname, my grandfather's nickname. It fit. So, I mean, it might as well. In any case, that's where my character name came from. That's where my continuing name comes from. And I eventually started seeing more people pop up on the Armory that were all named Warmack. Now, I mean, I had alts on a couple different servers, but you didn't show up on the Armory unless you were at least level 10. And I was seeing, like, Warmacker, Warmakker, was a undead warlock on my same server, and he ran into me one day in Blades Edge Mountains, and he bowed at me, and then he waved, and then he went away. And I was like, I've got a fan club. I guess I like crit somebody so hard that they had the desire to roll a warlock to try and replicate me. Because back in vanilla WoW, I was doing like 5k shadow bolts, 6k shadow bolts. And I didn't have that good a gear, but I knew how to spec, and I knew how to play, and I knew what to watch out for. So I kind of figured things out early on. I don't even want to tell you how many characters I had. I easily had 100-something hours play, 100-something days played on my original Warlock. My Death Knight, I had 90-something days played. I mean, I had so many characters. I deleted a lot of characters because I didn't want to pay $25 to do a character recustomization or transfer or anything like that. I was just like, I'll remake the character. It'll take me a week. I mean, in Burning Crusade, I leveled a rogue from 1 to 70. It took 13 days actual time, so I was still going to school, going to class, still having part-time job, all that good neat stuff, and it took me no time at all to go from 1 to 70. And it only got easier with, like, Wrath of the Lich King and Cataclysm. And Cataclysm was... it was alright, but I don't think it took 9 months for them to actually just reskin 2 old instances. That's a lot of money that was kind of potentially misappropriated or possibly gone to something else, but I can't really talk on that. I don't know what they did with it. I just know that I didn't really enjoy my experience in Cataclysm nearly as much as I did in Wrath of the Lich King, which was a lot more casual focused. I know, but it was okay. I was still in one of the higher end raiding guilds. We still downed Lich King at least once with a pug group, even when our core raiders were offline and we killed the Lich King. But yeah, I basically had one of every character. The only characters I never got past 80 was a hunter and priest. Those were the only two. Priest I got to 80, hunter I got to like 60 something, and hunter was too boring. Hunter was like, okay, right click, you'll auto attack, the pet goes in, done, next target, next target. There was no actual effort behind it, so I never actually needed to worry about that with hunters. Anyway, I'm sitting here a really long time on World of Warcraft. World of Warcraft had a really big impact on myself, on a lot of people, but that was mostly because of the community, and the community was really what helped define WoW. Yeah. Just the fact that people could be together. That's what really makes MMOs successful, and I do have quite the list of games that I tried to play for MMOs that I really couldn't because there wasn't really a feeling of community for me. Now, I still play Guild Wars 2. Guild Wars 2 is awesome. Me and my fiance play Guild Wars 2 a little bit every week now. I've been playing it a lot less since I've gotten this job, and a lot less since I've started uploading so much more to YouTube, because this is a lot of fun, but it's taking up a lot of my additional free time. I'm thinking about switching to XSplit soon, because that should be able to actually reduce the amount of time I need to render and upload things, so that might be a possibility. In which case I could start looking at like 6 to 8 uploads a week. Anyway. Yeah, I still play Guild Wars 2. That's basically what I eventually ditched WoW for, is I was in a kind of cruddy guild that was more or less me and my fiance were brought in to help them raid, because I've done every raid up through, you know, Cataclysm stuff. I didn't do any of the Fireland stuff, but I did everything before that. I knew everything inside, outside, upside down. I had multiple characters decked out in raiding gear at multiple levels, at multiple tiers. I was always doing end-game content at level when it was actually appropriate. And we were there to kind of make their raiding progression better. And I mean, I would go in on a Ret Paladin that I'd geared out in PvP, and I would just completely truck people on damage. And I don't think it was purely a point of Ret Paladins were broken. It was more that certain community aspects are not quite as stressed in some situations, and the guild fancied itself RP, but they wanted to raid. We weren't in it for the RP. We were in it to kick some boss, and that never happened, really. I mean, there was a couple times where I was soloing stuff when I was tanking on my Paladin, but that was there's only so much you can do against the big worm thing and the Black Rock Caverns or Spire or whatever the place is called. I can't even remember. It's been almost a year now since I got off WoW, and I gotta say, not being forced to raid every night is one of the best experiences I've ever had in my life. When you raid 5 nights a week for 3-4 years, and you're on there every night for 5-6 hours, not purely in the raid, but you also have to do daily quests, and grind for some gold, and grind for some more mats, more resources, more whatever you need to use in raid. It gets very tiring. So anyway, after WoW, I went to Guild Wars 2. Guild Wars 2 is awesome. I've got like 380s, mostly because I like to know how to do everything. And the classes there are pretty well balanced, and we're not going to discuss balancing in this one because balance is kind of difficult to play with. It's more on a case-by-case basis. Now, let's go along the big list of games that I played intermediary, kind of like along the way. Some of the easier ones for me to remember. Rapples, I played for like a day. I downloaded it, took the course of a day to download it, and then I played it. Didn't really do much else. I was in the Aeon Chinese closed beta, which I don't remember what year that was. I think that was before or as Burning Crusade was coming out. Now, the Chinese closed beta, I could make the gist out of it, but I wasn't able to do very well at it. And they had a limitation thing on there where you would progressively earn less and less experience up to 4 hours of play time, and if you're playing for more than 8 hours in a day, they shut you off for a week. So each day you could only play for at most 4 hours, and it took a full 24 hours for your EXP to fully like turn around. So it was like there was diminishing returns on EXP per hour you were playing. You were receiving 10% less up until 4 hours, where it would just drop and it would be gone. It was really weird, but they were trying to discourage people from killing themselves while playing MMOs, like people that died at their computer screen playing World of Warcraft in China because they were so addicted. They would not get up to go to the bathroom, to eat, to do anything. They would just die playing WoW. Aeon, I played that also for the English closed beta in about a month when it released. I didn't really play in the open beta, but it was alright. I mean, I played Spirit Master, meaning I had really cool looking pets, and that was the only thing going for me. Whereas when I was playing in the Chinese closed beta, I was playing Thief. So, excuse me. I also played DC Universe Online for its closed beta and a month at release. I tried going back to it when it went free to play, but DC Universe didn't really have any community for me, so I didn't really stick to it. I always kept encountering bugs as well. It would always be like, oh my god, the server just crashed, and now my character's locked out, and I have two options of just deleting this character I put 4 hours into, or waiting for a GM to finally address a ticket and then move my character. It took about 2.5 weeks to have them move a character, so I didn't give them too much of my time once it went free to play. Once it was still pay to play, it was alright. The combat system was kind of neat, but beyond that, I did like a lot of the backstory and the lore and all the things that they were incorporating together. And yeah, I'm not a super big fan of DC. I usually find Marvel to be more entertaining, but comic books, they're awesome. Let's see. I played City of Heroes for about a year alongside World of Warcraft now. I picked City of Heroes up back in 2004, and I stopped in 2005 after I'd already been playing World of Warcraft for a little bit. I really enjoyed City of Heroes. City of Heroes had a lot of community, and grouping was actually worthwhile. You were so much better with other people. It didn't matter. You were better with other people. Didn't whatever class you played. The same couldn't quite be said true for City of Villains, but I did enjoy the solo experience of City of Villains, and I still had a community I could talk with. I played that from 2005 till 2005. I think I picked it up right as I was leaving City of Heroes. So, I mean, it was effectively the same game. It was just you bought a different box and you played the other half of the story. I played FFYL, which actually FFYL 2, which is called Fight for Your Life 2. It was kind of weird. It was like an RPG experiment. Excuse me. Where they had a relatively small square map, and you had all these big, crazy two-handed swords, and then you just kind of take the route around the edge of the map, and you return to the center hub place every now and then and go back out and kill and grind. It was very, very Asian MMOs sort of themed, but it wasn't awful, but it wasn't good. So I made it about halfway through the leveling progression in about a day, and then once you hit like 30 something, the cap was 50. It was like brick wall, and you get to go grind for like a couple of weeks and get to 50. I didn't really feel up for that. I played Rose Online for a very brief period of time. I was playing that when it was in a beta, I think. I know I wasn't paying for it, and they later went for pay to play, so that was kind of a, hey, it's free to play thing. I might have actually played that before I started WoW. I don't remember. Yeah, so I also played Dark Age of Camelot. Didn't really like the graphics on that, but it was alright. For that same purpose, I also played Dungeons & Dragons Online, one of its earlier releases when it was still a subscription-based model, and I didn't really like the graphics of it, so I couldn't stick to it. But I did play Lord of the Rings Online at launch for its first month, and then I came back a year later during its 1 year anniversary, and I played that for about a year, and I really enjoyed Lord of the Rings Online. Now keep in mind I'm playing multiple MMOs all at the same time, so I'm like spread out everywhere. Lord of the Rings Online was actually really, really nice, and I did like how pretty it looked, because when you can look across this big serenic landscape over here, and you see horses back in the background, and the grass is just waving. It's very photogenic game. Very photogenic game, provided you don't really get close to textures. Because if you get close to textures, you'll see that the trees look like crap, the rocks look like crap, caves look awful. But character models were alright. They weren't over the top. They weren't extremely wearing like small cities on your shoulders. They were nice. It was a nice game. Let's see. I played Fly for Fun for like a week. I didn't really even play it that much. I hopped on every now and then during the day. I wanted to play it because I was very intrigued by the flying aspect, but I wanted to play that back before Burning Crusade came out, and that was when flying was added into WoW. So once I had flying there, I didn't really feel the need to fly anymore. In some other game, I just could hop on a dragon and take off. I played Final Fantasy XI for like 2 weeks, and it was alright. You really have to have a community there. If you don't have your community or a basic like kinship or whatever they called them in that game, you're probably not going to have a lot of fun. And Final Fantasy XIV, I played early beta for it, and then I played for like the first month. They didn't fix the problems that were addressed in beta, and they're still paying for it now, I think. It was a subscription base for like the longest time, and they eventually took away the subscription because they were like, this is not worth the money we put into it. Fire the entire team and rehire a completely different team to make the game. And I think they just went back to subscription base at the beginning of this year, and it was either December of last year or the beginning of this year, and they're going back to subscription base to try and recoup their losses. But I think they've tried to fix some of the glaring issues that were in there beforehand, most of which was like the questing job system, certain abilities. The UI was bad. bad. You go out into the world, it was like, imagine walking into Alaska with no penguins, no humans, no nothing, and then being told, well, you have like 17 quests over there. You can only have 5 active at a time. You can only do 5 a day. Have fun. It was a barren wasteland. There was nothing there. The game felt so empty, and that was a very disappointing launch when it could have been so much more, and they hyped it up to be so much more than what it actually was. PlanetSide 2, I will consider that an MMO. It is a first-person shooter. It is also a very, very recent game. I didn't play PlanetSide 1, but I picked up PlanetSide 2 during betas, and then I got it on Steam when it went free on Steam. I logged in once. I dropped in at the Terran Republic base, right next to a door entrance, kind of like I was like, oh, well, that's a base. I need to land there. And there was somebody else that I landed next to, and I land there, and I turn around, and a tank comes and runs my butt over. Runs me and the person standing next to me over, and then the person kind of like backs up and then runs over us again, and then backs up and runs over us again. It must have been hilarious for him because he did it forever. And then I redeploy, and it drops me like way the heck off over here next to some little supply depot thing, a little moving caravan, a little supply caravan. And I had no idea what was going on. I was like, I haven't learned the game. I don't know what weapons I have equipped. I don't know what class or what loadout I'm using. There's no indication to me aside from I've got like a rifle now, and there's people firing at me. I don't know what just happened. It was... Wow, that was my knuckle. It probably picked up on the mic. I saw the little things move. It was kind of the biggest troll ever, for me at least, and it kind of ruined my initial experience and impression on it, and I haven't really gotten back into it yet. So I like logged off, and I was like, well, that's something I'll try again later. But right then and there, I was like, that really sucked. I landed at the base so I could know what I was doing, and then I got run over and displaced somewhere. I had no idea how to get to anything, which is one thing that they could really improve in PlanetSide. I don't know if they've addressed this yet, but back when I tried, open up my map, I have no idea where I am. I have no idea what's going on. I know that there's like icons there to indicate where fighting is going on, but I had no idea or no way of knowing what does what. It was kind of like, well, I'm not given proper tutorial, and that was kind of my only gripe with that game as is. It looked good. I played Warhammer Age of Reckoning for like 2 weeks. 1 to 19. If you were PvPing, that game was amazing. Amazing, because you could level from 1 to 19 by PvPing, and then you just step out and kill something in PvE, and you can ding, and then you get put into the next level bracket, and it quit being amazing. Basically, what Warhammer Age of Reckoning, or WAR, W-A-R, that's the abbreviation, did wrong for their MMO launch was they made 1 billion servers, and all these servers were populated very sparsely. Instead of making like a dense select amount of servers, they made just way too many, and people spread out across them, going for this one that sounds cool or that one that sounds cool, and all of a sudden there's no one to play with. So if you go into the higher PvP brackets, you're not actually facing anyone because no one else is in those levels. Or if you're in the base level PvP brackets, you'll be fine because everyone's PvPing there. I did like the caster classes in that game, though. They were really, really cool. The Ember Mage was cool, and the Blood Witch, I guess, was the other one. I don't remember. Maybe I'm thinking Path of Exile for Blood Witch. I don't remember. Needless to say, I did enjoy the caster game and the caster portion of that game, but I didn't really find the content engaging. I didn't really find a sense of community. PvP was fun, but it wasn't worth staying for because there was no one playing. Rift, I played that for the end of the beta. I don't know if it was closed or open. I know I was in the end of the beta, and then I was in it for about 2 or 3 months or so. It was plenty of fun. Back then, there was only a handful of raids, and I didn't get into a really good guild. Now, it was probably the biggest disappoint for me, and I enjoyed it well enough. I couldn't really get into the PvP, and I tried doing the PvP, and I even went back a year later trying to do the PvP. That was a big mistake. The problem with Rift PvP was toughness. The more toughness you have, the less damage you take from players, but the more damage you deal to players. And if you never PvP, you don't have any toughness. Meaning, I had warriors critting on me for like 31k, and I had a 6k health pool. You could get enough toughness to do 100% more damage to a player and receive 100% less from a player. It was basically just cutting my damage in half, and I was playing on like a cleric, a shaman build cleric, meaning I was like melee, but I could heal myself, and I would hit these guys for like nothing, when in normal PvE circumstances I would hit for like 800s, 1000s, 1200s. I'd hit these guys for like 150, and then they'd turn around and crit me. Every single time it'd be a warrior, and he's critting my face off because warriors just dominated PvP. There was no point to playing anything else, and it was very, very, very disappointing that their balance system could be so out of skew. I mean, I understood that you could pick and mix and match your souls and classes, and you could basically build it how you wanted to build it, but there was always these archetypes that everyone would play because they were better than others, and unfortunately warriors were just better at everything than others, and they were literally the reason I stopped playing was just one class, warrior. Oh my god, my nose itches like along the side right here. I'm sorry about that. I keep like You might also notice that my nose is off skew. That is a broken nose that I never had set. Different story for a different day. Let's see, that was Rift. EVE Online, I played that for about 4 months. Yeah, it's a bit of a spreadsheet simulator, calculator game, but it was relatively fun. I really like the designs of the ships. I like some of the intrigue. I like some of the bigger things, the bigger aspects of it, the enterprises and communities. But didn't really get super far. I didn't die, but I didn't get super far. Yeah. EverQuest 2, I played for about a week. EverQuest 1, I played for about a month. Just not my bag of tea. They were alright. Lord of the Rings Online. I think I already covered that. Yeah, I played it for like a month. And then I went back for a year after its first anniversary. Rhizome. I don't even remember what Rhizome was about, but I know I played it. I do know I played it. I have its installer still somewhere on my computer here because I just upgrade my hard drives and swap cases every so many years. Fallen Earth. Played that for like a month when it was still subscription based. It was alright. Tried a little bit too hard to be super realistic. There were certain aspects about it that were alright, and I did like the shooting. So Vindictus, I played that for like a week. Arcadey style combat, not that bad. It was really Asian themed MMO, so a lot of it was going to be very, very grindy, and you end up having to do the same thing over and over and over again to try and get a better and better score, and that was really a disappointing factor for me. Guild Wars 1, I played it for like a month. I tried playing like a meta class, meaning I was playing one of the classes that was supposedly best at the game at the end of the game, but I wasn't playing it for that purpose. I was playing it because I wanted to play something that was a necromancer with a mesmer sub, and that didn't work out very well for me. I had a really rough time starting out, and I don't know why. I was just trying to be a minion master. Guild Wars 2, I think I've already mentioned that. I'm still playing it. It's a lot of fun. Dofus, I played it for like a month. I know Dofus actually had a re-release or a sequel. It's a French company, and they have like an anime based on it as well. It looks really, really weird, like it's done in Flash animation. But Dofus I played for like a month. It was alright. I found some of the things, and balancing was a little skewed. Wakfu, I think, is the name of the follow-up game. Didn't play it, but I've heard mixed things. Like the forums are basically a perfect reflection that the game is very, very immature, that there's a lot of drama, and that there is very, very little interaction between the developers and the community. So what little people are talking aren't really being heard. I played Mabinogi for like 3 hours. I downloaded it, ran it, got really bored. Star Trek Online for about 2 months, and Mortal Online for a brief period of time, but I don't remember how brief a period of time. It was less than a month, but Mortal Online was alright. It was alright. There are a few games that could be considered or argued that are MMOs, like Diablo 3 and Torchlight 2, or Path of Exile. Path of Exile really more so than the other two. But I don't really see those as persistent MMO worlds. They're more like instanced things. And I mean, I guess you could really say the same thing about like Vindictus, since it's lobby-based dungeoning. But it's, I don't know, those are action RPGs, and I kind of set them to their own queue. They're not quite as open world. Path of Exile is the closest thing, and that's just because you will encounter other people in the individual hubs if they're on the same part of the story as you are. But in Diablo 3, that doesn't happen. In Torchlight 2, that doesn't happen. Diablo 3 does have ad hoc. You can just randomly jump into a game, and so can you on Torchlight 2. But I don't, again, think those are really MMOs. So, my favorite MMO, even though it's not my most played, WoW is my most played, my favorite MMO so far has probably been Guild Wars 2. Just because it leaves me so wanderlusting. I'm like, oh my god, what's that over there? What's that over there? I've seen everything. I have a 100% world completion map exploration thing already done, but it was the game does so many things right. There's very, very few things that I can actually say that I'm very, very disappointed about. So on the whole, it's probably the most complete out-of-the-box game experience I've had. WoW took a while to get to the point it is today. And, yeah, I mean, Guild Wars 2 has a lot of potential and where it can go. So even though, you know, WoW, World of Warcraft, took this many years, it has 8 years under its belt. 9 years under its belt. Well, 9 years this year. It's 8.5 now. And it's got room to grow, but it's already past its prime. And there's points to be made that other games like Guild Wars 2, like, you know, I don't know, other games can effectively build on what WoW did and kind of bring in another generation. And Guild Wars 2 still has a lot of room to grow. They have a lot of lore to expand upon. They have a lot of world. And that's probably going to be why it's my favorite MMO right now. It's just the fact that it still has a lot of room to expand, even though it's already got more in-box than what WoW originally shipped with. Now, my worst MMO, probably Final Fantasy XIV. Just because it looked pretty, but it was just a barren wasteland. Oh, I forgot an MMO. I did play Terra. I played that for like a week. When I said look pretty, I was like, well, what else? There's something else that looked really pretty. Yeah, Terra looked gorgeous and also kind of creepy because it was a bunch of nearly naked, overly sexualized women running around in lingerie fighting monsters, making yeah sounds. And yeah, I don't know, that was a weird one too. It wasn't bad, but it wasn't good. But yeah, Final Fantasy XIV, awful. If they've fixed any of the updates, let me know in the comment section below. So my question for you guys this week that I will pick back up on next Thursday when I start my next topic is, what kind of MMOs have you guys played? What was your favorite and what was your most hated? Also, second question, what game released for you and felt like the most build-up? You were so unbelievably excited for this game, but when it released, you were so unbelievably depressed. Let me know in the comment section down below. Also, be sure to follow me on Twitter at Warmack9, same as my little name down here. Just somewhere, depends on your format. So thank you guys so much for tuning in. I've been Warmack9, as I've already mentioned. And if you made it this far, thank you guys so much for hanging out. And remember to hit the like button as well. That's not as big a deal as just making sure you leave comments. And otherwise, I will see you guys next time.